report looks at where AI stands right now, which is what makes it so fascinating.
Okay, so first impression, they don't mess around with the numbers. This report kicks off by saying the global AI market is already worth, get this, $196 billion.
It's a big number for sure, and it gets even bigger.
Oh, I bet it does. What are we talking, like by 2030 or something?
Try 2029. Projections show this thing could hit $2.6 trillion by then.
Trillion. Okay, so we're not talking about just some, upward trend. This is massive growth. What's driving that kind of a surge?
I think it comes down to this AI is actually delivering on its promises now in ways that are, well, they're tangible. Companies are using it and they're seeing real results.
So it's not just theoretical anymore. It's actually doing stuff.
Exactly. We're seeing applications across every industry you can imagine.
Okay, well, give me an example. Where's AI really making a difference for, say, businesses right now?
Take retail, for instance. This report says that 80%, a full 80% of retail execs think that in just 3 years, their companies will rely on AI automation.
80%. So it's not even a question of if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. But what does that even look like in a store?
Imagine a shopping experience that's completely tailored to you the second you walk through the door. Like, it knows what you like, how much you want to spend, maybe even what you need before you remember.
Okay, that's kind of wild. So we're talking like personalized everything.
Pretty much. And it's not just retail. This report talks about Netflix. Apparently, they make $1 billion every year just from their recommendation engine.
Wait, so just from knowing what shows people want to binge watch, $1 billion.
$1 billion. It's crazy. It just shows you how powerful these algorithms are getting at connecting with, well, us.
So AI knows what we want to buy, what we want to watch. It's a little, I don't know.
A little Big Brother-ish.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but we'll get into all that after the break. Okay, so AI is making moves in the business world, but what about us regular folks? What happens to our jobs when the robots can do it all?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
More like a multi-trillion-dollar question, if you ask me.
Well, you're not wrong about that. This report actually digs into those concerns, and it looks like by 2025, almost 100 million people will be working in AI-related fields.
100 million. So are we all going to be coding robots by then?
Not necessarily coding, but yeah, we're going to have to adapt. And the report does say that some jobs, particularly in transportation and manufacturing, are at higher risk of automation.
Like self-driving trucks, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It actually says that transportation and storage workers have a 56% chance of their jobs being automated.
Okay, so it's not like robots are taking over everything, but there are definitely some jobs that are, I guess, more vulnerable than others.
Right. But here's the interesting part. While some jobs are disappearing, AI is also creating a ton of new jobs.
Huh.
We're going to need people to design these AI systems, build them, train them, fix them.
So it's not just about the tech jobs themselves, it's about all the jobs around the tech jobs too.
Exactly. And this report actually emphasizes the importance of having people who can bridge the gap between humans and AI.
What does that even mean, though? Like AI therapists, robot whisperers.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about people who can think critically about how AI is being used, who understand the ethical implications, and who can help ensure that these technologies are used for good.
So it's not just about teaching people to code. It's about teaching them to think about the bigger picture.
Precisely. Creativity, empathy, critical thinking, these are all going to be super valuable skills in an AI-driven world.
Well, speaking of AI being everywhere, this report had a crazy stat about voice assistants. Did you know there are now more voice assistants than there are people on the planet?
Over 8.4 billion of them. It's mind-boggling. And it really shows how quickly natural language processing, or NLP as it's known, is becoming part of our everyday lives.
NLP. Okay, break that down for me. What is that exactly?
Basically, it's all about teaching computers to understand us, to understand human language. It's how your smart speaker knows what you're asking for, even when you don't speak in perfect sentences.
So, like, when I ask my smart speaker to play, like, 80s music while I'm making breakfast, and it actually does it.
Yep. That's NLP in action. It's helping to make technology feel more natural, more human.
Okay, I can see that. But even if AI is starting to understand us better, how good is it at actually doing what we want? This report mentions some pretty amazing stuff, like AI that can read lips better than humans.
I know, right?
Hmm.
And it's not just lip reading. Google's apparently developed an AI system for detecting breast cancer that's 99% accurate.
99%. Okay, now we're talking about some serious life-changing stuff.
It's incredible. And a lot of these advances are thanks to deep learning, which is like AI on steroids.
Deep learning. That sounds intense.
It is, but in a good way. It basically allows machines to learn from huge amounts of data, way more than we could ever process as humans.
So, like, instead of just programming a computer with specific rules, we're basically letting it teach itself by feeding it tons of information.
You got it. And the results, in some cases, are even better than what humans can achieve. But there are definitely still some hurdles to overcome.
So it sounds like we're getting closer to this whole AI thing being, like, really, really good at stuff. But you said there are still some hurdles. What's standing in the way of, perfect AI?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is making sure that these AI systems are trained on like the right data. And I mean the right data in every sense of the word.
Okay, what makes data right?
It's got to be diverse, unbiased, and a whole lot of it. If an AI is only trained on a narrow slice of information, it's going to make, some pretty questionable decisions when it encounters something outside of that little bubble.
It's like if you only ever show a kid pictures of apples and tell them it's fruit, they're going to think all fruit is an apple.
Exactly. And with AI, those kinds of biases can have some pretty big consequences.
So how do we fix that?
Well, that's where humans come in. We
Yeah.
need people who are like thinking critically about the data that's being used to train these AIs. We need to make sure that diverse perspectives are represented and that these systems are actually being held accountable for their decisions.
Because at the end of the day, they're still just tools, right?
Exactly. Powerful tools, but tools nonetheless. And like any tool, they can be used for good or for, well, not so good things. This report really highlights that point. The future of AI isn't some predetermined thing. It's being shaped by the choices we make right now, today.
So what can our listeners do? Like, what's one thing they can do today to make sure we're steering this whole AI thing in the right direction?
It sounds simple, but honestly, just stay informed, learn about this stuff, engage in conversations about the ethical considerations, the potential biases, all of it. Don't be afraid to ask those tough questions.
Ask the tough questions. I love it. Because really, this isn't just about some, like, far-off future. This is about our lives right here, right now.
100%.
Well, this has been, I've got to say, a pretty mind-blowing deep dive.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned a lot just by, talking through all this with you.
Me too. It's been great.
But before we go, I want to leave everyone with one last thought. This report has given us a really fascinating snapshot of AI today. But we all know things change fast, especially in the tech world. So the big question is, what does the AI landscape look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What new mind-blowing innovations are right around the corner? And what new challenges will we face? It's something to think about.
Definitely. The future's unwritten, right?
That's right. And we want to hear your thoughts on it. So head over to social media, tell us what you think, what are your AI hopes and fears, your predictions for the future. Let's keep this conversation going. Thanks for listening, everyone.